This time we also have two more appointments. It's on the Soil Conservation District. And the names, the two terms that are expiring are Bill Gentry and Franklin Farley. Both of them have played a very important role in the refinancing of this new lease that we just talked about here recently. And there was 4 names submitted to me. The name of Julie Onan and Bill Gentry and Bob McIndoe and Franklin Farley. And with Mr. Gentry and Mr. Farley being in the process of getting this lease done and refinancing done, I'd like to recommend those two be reappointed also.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, you can call the roll.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
Magistrate Lacer.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. And I have spoke with each of these persons and served, and they were all willing to continue to serve. Next, we have a problem. We need to do a deed correction on the county park. And what brings that about is the coal company brought to our attention that they, when we done the original survey and layout, we had the line went over too close to the county park for where they're going to be mining. So we need to do a deed correction on that to change it so that they won't be in any violation. And the violation, there's not a violation, but they're going to be mining there, and basically it was a mistake, and they come to us wanting to clear it up so they can get the permitting process done, continue that area. So, talking with them, talking with the county engineer, and I think it's in the best interest of us and them that we do this deed corrections. Bill, do you have anything you want to bring up?
No, sir.
I got any questions or anything that I think showed Bruce and Charles on the map out there yesterday what it is, and when their mining is complete, it's their intent to put all of that back, give all that back to the county as it was originally described and deeded. Basically what they're doing today is coming in and making sure we get it corrected so we won't have any violations when they do start mining out there.
Judge, if I may, it's my understanding from speaking with counsel in Virginia that I was just handed this deed of correction a few seconds before the meeting started, so I've not seen it, but it's my understanding that it's their intention and that it's to be stated in that deed that they are to reconvey that section of the property upon the cessation of mining activities in the area. And it was also, until just a few minutes before this meeting, it was also my understanding that there was another parcel that was to be conveyed once mining activity ceased in the area, which is would lead to the county getting more road frontage. But I've been told that Virginia doesn't want to do that now?
No.
Okay.
The agreement has not been drawn up, and we will provide you with all of these agreements, Steve.
Okay.
That we've discussed previously.
That's all we had to do.
Yes, we did. We did. Yes, I have. But I have to get the documentation drawn up, and this will be, Judge, you will need to, confer with Mr. Gold here on his recommendations on whether or not, it's acceptable to the county.
If I can kind of draw it out a little more clearly, 405 KAR 24:040 states that you can't mine within 300 feet of a public park. Well, the area that they had previously permitted was perfectly fine because it wasn't within 300 feet of a public park. As soon as they donated that property to the county, it became a public park. And apparently they didn't think about that.
We didn't realize that we had never run into this restriction before. We missed it in our research. We understand you stay 100 feet from a graveyard, 300 feet from a residence. But because we designated this deed, we had just gave it to the county as property, there would be no problem. But because it was designated as a county park, that's where the problem came in.
And as a matter of fact, the deed has a restriction on it that it can only be used as a public park. So, you know, when I was looking at this, trying to figure out, you know, some of the issues here, when the county is giving up some sort of property, first of all, it's to the entity that donated it to us. Second of all, we couldn't sell this on an open market. We couldn't take bids on it because the only way to sell it is, or the only way to transfer it would be for use as a public park. Because there's a restriction, there's a reversion restriction in the original deed that says as soon as it's not used for a public park, it automatically reverts back to them. That also creates a little bit of a question. It is currently being developed for a public park, but it's not being used as a public park. So if in my conversations with counsel for Penn, Virginia, they have brought that fact up a few times, and the fact that they could file a declaratory judgment action to declare that it's not being used as a public park currently, get the whole tract back. And I think their intent is still for us to have a public park there. They don't want to go through that. We don't want to go through that. We want to have a public park. So I'm just bringing these issues up to you all for discussion. But that's kind of the thought process there. What it is 43.31 acres. It's a bottom section of the park furthest away from the road frontage. It's 43 acres and change of the 476 acres and change parcel. So it's, I mean, it's, you know, not a huge part. It is not any of the lakes or ponds on there. No. And I've shown a few of you the aerial map. I will pass this around. There's a little line across here where it is. Or did you all have a survey of it?
Yes.
Seems like you might have.
We have a survey. That's, Mr. Bailey has done the work.
I do have it. Okay. But it's also my understanding that this is kind of that Penn, Virginia is as part of a mea culpa here, saying that number one, it'll be reconveyed once mining activity in the area ceases, and also that the area up near 351, does that have a retaining pond in it now?
No.
What is it that's there?
It's topsoil.
Topsoil pile right there.
Right.
That is right off 351,
Right off
which would give the
351.
whole park significantly more growth.
More road frontage, access, entrance.
How long will it take to mine this out, did you get?
Charles, I really couldn't say. It depends on the permitting process right now with the state and federal. There have been no permits issued in Western Kentucky for the last year due to the EPA and the Corps. We have no idea right now. And the average permit had went from 2 years to 3 years. And that's because they've added a year. But like I say, there have not been any permits issued. So at a minimum, and I'm just guessing, 8 years at a minimum. Once your permitting and everything is put in place, that's if you can get a permit.
Yesterday, I went out to the county park and rode back through there, looked at the area that be involved, looked at the area on the maps. I don't see in any way that it's gonna hurt us that's moving forward on some of that work we wanna do at the park. It's just that one back corner, anything that was gonna be done back there was just wait. And be real truthful, we're doing this in segments as we go, a little bit at a time, so it was gonna be some time before we're ever gonna be at the back part of that 476 acres to do anything with that particular park. So, it's not going to stop anything that we're doing out there now. We are now in the process of trying to get a road going through. Mr. Hudak is doing some work on getting that done. And we've got the concrete out there that has been crushed and all, we're reusing it, recycling it, using it on the road. So after looking at it yesterday and looking at the plans at the road department yesterday morning out there, it'd be my recommendation to go ahead with the deed correction.
What about county? What's your opinion?
Honestly, I'm not sure how many options there are. Like I said, Penn, Virginia is aware of their rights. I'm not sure exactly what their chances of success would be in court as to whether or not they could get it declared that it's not being used as a public park at this point. There's not a whole lot of activity going on out there as far as public park. It is in development. We have oral agreements with them and possibly some written agreements. I'm not sure, Mr. Kubiak, that they're allowing certain activity to go on that property, specifically waiving that requirement. But so there'd be some gray area there, but it could put us in court for a while with them.
There's activities going on out there. It can't become a functional county park overnight.
Right. Right, and that's the thing. And so, you know, honestly, what a court would do with it, I don't know. But I know as far as what can be, you know, it was donated. We can't sell it to anybody unless, you know, it's going to be used by whoever we sell it to as a public park. You know, so it's not like we can put it out for bids.
Well, I feel like that it was, in good faith, they gave us this ground, and in good faith, they made a mistake, okay? And they're willing to give it back, they just need to correct their mistake. I think it was, you know, they were acted in good faith, and I think maybe the court might, I feel that way. I feel like.
In respect to that, Charles, when we first looked at property, and it was discussed with my engineer, Bob Calvin, at the time, and Mr. Cox, we had laid out what we thought would give them ample room to progress in their area in which they wanted to continue mining in the future. Unbeknownst to us is the fact of the KRS regulation about mining next to a park. Because at that time, it wasn't a park, it has never been mined up to a park. We've never encountered this before. And that was the stipulation that threw us off by 300 feet. Or that would have been, had we known that at the beginning, it would have been the 300-foot boundary beyond where it is right now. That would have been laid out in the plan. But since Mr. Calvert, or myself, or Mr. Cox, or any of the other people involved were aware of the regulation under KRS, that's why the correction came about with the 300-foot on that eastern side boundary.
That was my understanding, that we would have today also some sort of recordable agreement regarding the intentions with the additional property closer to 351. It was my understanding we would have that today also to look at, and kind of in a way as a sign of good faith on Penn, Virginia's part to show that, hey, you know, now as far as a timetable on that, I don't think we can do a deed at this point with a timetable, but there was going to be something that we could record in the clerk's office as far as an agreement.
We will get this documentation to Steve for your, you know, Steve, you're going to have to approve it, you know, the documents. Like I say, we're not going to be able to do a deed of correction and have it signed today or anything. We just want to make the court aware.
You just make us aware, and you're going to get the documentation on the wider, where you're giving us the more right of way on the front of the road.
Correct.
All that'll be in place, then that's when you're going to come for the vote.
Right.
I got you.
That'll work.
So basically, are we just going to table this thing for today?